Everybody, welcome in. Let's do a recap on the timeline of Crystal Rogers, who disappeared in July 2015. And let's talk about the players and the recent arrest of the father and son. And with that, let's get into it. Before we get started, our deepest condolences go out to Crystal Rogers, her family, and her friends. And who was Crystal Rogers?
Investigation has had such a hold not only on this community but on the Kentuckiana community, and there have been developments over the years. There have been searches, there have been interviews, there have been big announcements made. Nothing quite like this.
With this case, we are going to have to peel back the layers for sure. July 3rd, 2015 was the last time that Crystal Rogers was seen alive, and she was at a Brooks Houck, a family farm. Crystal and Brooks were not married. Crystal is a mother of 5 children, and her youngest, Eli, is her and Brooks a child. October 16th, 2015, Crystal Rogers was presumed deceased, and the Nelson County Sheriff's Department names Brooks Houck as the main suspect. The FBI takes over Crystal's case. They search several properties, including Nick Houck's home and the Houck family farm. Eight years later, June 21st, 2023, the grand jury indicts Joseph Lawson on 2 charges, including conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. Lawson is the first arrest in the connection to the Crystal Rogers case. And like I said, there are many layers to this story, so we will touch on the timeline in this video and a little bit on who the Lawson boys are, and then we'll get into each section individually. It's a big rabbit hole. That takes us to September 27th, 2023. The FBI and KSP arrest Brooks in connection to Crystal Rogers' case. Brooks Houck is charged with murder and tampering with physical evidence.
Has vanished.
To the newsroom, it is actually 2 losses in court for the man accused of killing Crystal Rogers.
The Kentucky Court of Appeals says Brooks Houck's bond will stay at $10 million. He's been in jail since his arrest in late September. Houck argued his bond was unusually high. The state appeals court disagreed, saying Houck's attorneys could not prove that the bond was excessive. The court cited several reasons, including agreeing with the lower court's opinion that Houck is a flight risk and could be a danger to potential witnesses. The ruling also cited accusations that Houck's family members recorded grand jury proceedings and prosecutors' allegation that Nick Houck, Brooks' brother, was involved in the death of Rogers' father, Tommy Ballard.
As of today, Brooks Houck still sits in jail on that $10 million bond. I'm actually surprised that he hasn't bonded out, considering he is huge in construction business and rental properties. Let's talk about Joseph and Stephen Lawson. Stephen is the father of Joseph. Now, if you saw the interview with Brooks Houck, actually the police interrogation, that is actually the first time I heard the last name Steve Lawson. But during that police interrogation, the investigator, Snow, asked Brooks about a phone call between him and a man named Steve Lawson on the night of Crystal's disappearance. Brooks can be heard telling Detective Snow that Steve Lawson worked for him. Brooks calls Steve Lawson back during the police interrogation and asked him to recount why they talked about that night. Now, I am not going to go into detail because, like I told you, this is one rabbit hole connected to about 1,000. But if you have not seen the Brooks Houck police interrogation, it is on my videos. So that is the first time the mention of Steve Lawson comes into play. And then we have a Joseph Lawson, the son of Stephen, second man charged in the Crystal Rogers death, has a history of violence against women. I'm going to play a video regarding him, but from what I understand, the connection to Crystal Rogers, he called his father to pick him up on the Bluegrass Highway, where Crystal Rogers supposedly broke down and her keys, phone, and purse were in the car. From what I'm gathering, the spare tire that is on Crystal Rogers' car belonged to Joseph Lawson, and he is actually in a wheelchair now, paraplegic from a motorcycle accident. I believe it was in 2021 actually. And as a matter of fact, Joseph Lawson was in court today, and I will go ahead and update you on a community post. So that is the timeline. And those are the players. They had this information in 2015. What was it that made them make the arrest in 2023? We are definitely going to dive deeper into the case. I want to get into the sit-down interview that Crystal Rogers' mom did a month ago. Very perplexed a case.
In the case of Crystal
As WDRB broke the story, Joseph Lawson is also charged in connection to her murder. But who is he?
Especially a case like this can be absolutely overwhelming, the amount of attention. I mean, you're talking about somebody that probably, didn't get much attention before this, and now it's quite overwhelming.
WDRB Investigates has gone through more than a dozen court files to learn more about the Nelson County 32-year-old. We found several women accused him of domestic violence between 2009 and 2021. His records show Lawson's highest education level is a GED, and he is self-employed in construction. This sheriff's office report says his full name is listed as Joseph Joey Stephen Lee Allen Lawson, and records show he's moved around a lot.
There's definitely a period where he was homeless.
Wearing orange, Lawson had a court hearing in Washington County, Kentucky via Zoom last week from a hospital bed. He is wheelchair bound.
Obviously, we all know Mr. Lawson's got circumstances in Nelson County.
Lawson was in a motorcycle crash years ago, and it's believed his injuries are related to that.
What are some of your frustrations with the case and how it's going?
It's still early to say that I'm frustrated. There has been, some unusual delays that, for example, I would have already seen my client by now.
His attorney, Kevin Coleman, is representing him in Washington County and now in Nelson County for charges of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence in the Rogers case.
For his actual charges, what does that tell you about the case? He was not charged with murder.
I'll decline to comment on that just because I don't want to speculate about it's pretty obvious, I think, as far as what's implied by that, and I'll let everybody else, make their own inferences.
Brooks Houck, Rogers' boyfriend at the time, named as the main suspect in the case, was the last person to see her alive 4th of July weekend 2015, and was just arrested in connection to her murder. Whether Lawson has a connection to Houck isn't known. We have learned that Lawson's dad, Steve, worked for Houck.
Mr. Lawson is presumed innocent, and I'm going to do everything I can in my power to make sure that he does have a fair trial.
main suspect.
No comment. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
But with that, it is a wrap. Everybody, I thank you for coming in. Please make sure you click that like, the subscribe, and the bell for notifications so you do not miss the next time we drop a video and or a go live. Everybody, have a good day or good night wherever you are in the world and stay vigilant. I am out.